This report is falsified, so... The words cut through the boardroom like a blade through silence. Every executive turned their head toward the doorway. There stood Maya Williams, 17 years old, wearing a navy sweatshirt, her braided hair neat, a visitor badge hanging crookedly from her neck. She looked calm, but her words carried the weight of thunder. The tension in the room was instant and absolute. Richard Stratton, CEO of Stratton Capital Partners, froze mid-signature. His pen hovered above the dotted line of a report worth billions. The room, moments ago humming with quiet confidence over their soon-to-be historic IPO, now felt frozen in time. "What did you say?" Richard asked slowly, his eyes narrowing as he straightened in his chair. "I said the report isn't accurate," Maya replied without blinking. "I reviewed the numbers under Project Elevate. Some of the allocated funds don't match the city's public transparency portal. And 2 vendor companies listed, they don't exist." Gasps were swallowed in shocked silence. Emily Knox, the firm's CFO, let out a cold, dismissive laugh. "This is absurd. She's just a child. She doesn't know what she's talking about." But Maya didn't flinch. "One of the vendors is registered to a mailbox in a Waco suburb. I found 3 versions of the same invoice, each with a different total. And one of them," she said, turning to Emily, "has your initials at the bottom." The boardroom went still. Richard's pen slowly lowered. "How did you see this report?" he asked carefully. "I was waiting for my mom. She works in accounting on the 3rd floor. Someone left a copy on the printer. I took a photo. I didn't mean to get involved, but something felt off, so I started digging. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Because that's the thing about truth. It doesn't need a title. It doesn't need permission. Just someone brave enough to name it." Emily's smile tightened. Her voice turned urgent. "Rick, let's move on. We spent weeks reviewing those numbers. Legal, accounting, compliance. We can't stall the IPO because of a teenager with a theory. Just sign it." But Richard didn't move. He looked at Maya. Her eyes weren't angry, just steady. "Scared, maybe, but sure. I need a few hours," he said quietly, setting the pen down. Emily's voice rose. "Rick?" "I said a few hours," he repeated. "Firm now." The room began to empty. Whispers passed like dry leaves in the wind. But Maya didn't wait around. She turned and left without another word. Behind her, one sentence echoed louder than any corporate presentation. "Numbers don't lie, but someone in this room does." Even after everyone left, Richard stayed behind. The report sat before him like a confession unsigned. He kept hearing Maya's voice, her words, sharp, unsettling, impossible to ignore. And he began to realize this wasn't the first time something felt wrong. Emily had missed a few key meetings. Budget reviews had been oddly rushed. Vendor names sounded fake, but were never questioned. He'd ignored it all because trusting Emily had become easy. But now, Richard flipped back to the Project Elevate page, a $12.4 million allocation for community outreach, and vendors called Bridgecore Solutions and Horizon Grantworks. On paper, they looked clean, but in his gut, something twisted. That evening, Richard returned to his penthouse. City lights glowed beyond the glass, but inside, the air felt heavy. Emily was already there, barefoot in the kitchen, swirling wine. "You didn't sign," she said without toning. "I said I needed time," Richard replied, taking off his blazer. "I get she's your goddaughter," Emily said flatly. "But letting a teenager derail $1 billion deal? That's not like you." Her voice was calm, but her eyes held something colder, irritation, not concern. "She's not just any kid," Richard said quietly. "She found a shell company." Emily smiled faintly. "I'll have to check with the accounts team. They handle those verifications." "The same team you reorganized last quarter?" he asked, narrowing his gaze. No answer. He watched her turn back to her wine. The silence between them spoke volumes. He didn't want to believe it. Not after everything they'd rebuilt. "Did you ever meet Maya's mom?" he asked suddenly. "Once. That holiday gala years ago." "Why?" "She died believing this company stood for something real." Emily's smile faded. "I'm going to investigate the report," Richard said firmly. If Maya's right, we're pulling everything. You're being paranoid. No, I'm letting the truth speak. That night, Richard made a quiet call to Tara Mendez, a trusted attorney. I need you to look into two vendors, Bridgecore Solutions and Horizon Grant Works, and keep it off the books. Fake vendors in a pre-IPO report? That's serious, Tara warned. I know. Just find out the truth. By midnight, Richard sat alone in his study. Maya's notes lay open before him, highlighted pages, public records, handwritten comparisons. She had done the job of 3 internal auditors in a weekend. He picked up the phone and called Evelyn, Maya's aunt. She's safe, right? Yes, she's in bed. Why? She did something brave. It might ruffle feathers. I just needed to know she's protected. She always speaks up when it matters, Evelyn said gently. That's how her mother raised her. You don't owe her anything. Rick, you made a promise to her mother. That's not debt. That's family. The next morning, long before the office stirred, Richard sat alone in the dim light, the report in front of him, and Maya's quiet courage still echoing in his mind. He made a silent vow. He would protect her. He would expose the truth. And if it came down to it, he would burn the whole deal down. Because nothing he had built was worth signing a lie. By the time the office buzzed with voices and elevator chimes, Richard Stratton was already knee-deep in his second round of reviewing vendor contracts. His desk, once pristine, was now scattered with documents, coffee gone cold, and Maya's folder held open by a gold lion-shaped paperweight. At exactly 9:04 a.m., Jordan, his sharp, ever-efficient assistant, stepped in with an iPad and 2 coffees. You're in early, Jordan noted, placing a cup down. Want me to prep the media notes for Friday's IPO? Richard glanced up, his face unreadable. Not yet. Jordan hesitated. Something wrong. Close the door. When the lock clicked, Richard leaned in. You've been here 5 years. You remember everything. I try. Bridgecore Solutions. You ever meet anyone from that team? Jordan frowned. They are listed under Emily's outreach files, but I've only seen them in reports. No meetings. No calls. Pull everything tied to them and to Horizon Grant Works. Invoices, emails, POS, all of it. That'll raise flags, so... I'm counting on it, Richard said. And Jordan, if anything unusual happens, you come to me, no one else. Jordan nodded, a little paler than before, and left. Minutes later, Richard's phone buzzed. Tara, his investigator, didn't waste time. I found your ghost, she said. Bridgecore's a Delaware shell, no staff, no office. Horizon's the same. Both list their emergency contact as a Michael Knox. Richard's stomach dropped. Emily's brother. Correct. And they are funneling money into a private offshore account disguised as consultancy fees. Cayman Islands. Richard stood and stared out the window. She's laundering money using our project. And if you'd signed those papers, Tara added, you'd be facing federal charges. The documents were designed to pass a surface audit. Someone on the inside knew what they were doing. He rubbed his temples. This isn't just deception. It's calculated fraud. I've already started building the case, Tara said. But you'll need one more thing, a voice from inside to prove you didn't know. Richard thought of Jordan, loyal, observant, but too careful. Then of Maya. No, he told himself. He'd already put her through too much. Just then, he noticed a printed reimbursement form tucked under a report. The signature at the bottom wasn't his. It was close, but he knew his handwriting. Emily had forged his name. By lunchtime, Richard had made up his mind. Maya answered on the second ring. Mr. Stratton. Hey, kiddo, you busy? Just algebra. Why? I need to see you. Meet me at the old diner, your mom's favorite. When Maya arrived, she was in the same navy sweatshirt from the night before, backpack slung over her shoulder. She slid into the booth, eyes cautious. Are you in trouble? She asked. Richard gave a tired smile. Not yet, but maybe soon. You believe me now? I do. and I owe you more than I can say." He slid a photocopy across the table. "You were right. About everything." Maya's eyes scanned the page. "So, what happens now?" "I'm building a case. Quietly. I've got a lawyer. A few people I can trust. But I need time." "They won't wait," she said. "If they know you won't sign, they'll try to bury the evidence. Or you." He chuckled, weary. "I know." She pulled a folded document from her bag. "Then you'll want this." "What is it?" "A zoning complaint. There's a clause in Project Elevate claiming city approval for new housing. But the land is designated green space. I checked. It's fraudulent." Richard read it carefully. The citations were sharp. "Clean. Smart. You did this alone." She shrugged. "Google's free." He stared at her. "You're 17 and you've done more for this company in 3 days than my executives have in 3 years. "I didn't do it for the company," she said quietly. "I know." As they left, he gently touched her shoulder. "I need you to stay safe. They'll see you as a threat now." She met his gaze, steady. "Then let them be afraid." That night, Maya noticed a black SUV parked down the street near her apartment. Windows tinted, engine silent. She walked faster, turned the corner, and slipped inside without looking back. Upstairs, Evelyn was at the stove. She looked up and froze. "What is it?" "There's a car outside. It hasn't moved." Evelyn peered through the blinds. Her shoulders stiffened. "You sure?" "They didn't follow me, but they're not passing through either." Evelyn picked up the phone. "I'm calling Richard." 20 minutes later, Richard stood at the door, flanked by 2 plainclothes security men. He looked exhausted, but his voice was calm. "You did the right thing," he told Evelyn. "We'll keep eyes on the block. Rotate cars every shift." Maya finally asked, "Is this because of the report?" Richard nodded. "And because of what you found today. That zoning complaint hit a nerve. They're trying to scare me. They're testing you, seeing if you'll stay quiet." "I won't." "I know." Before he left, he handed Evelyn a secure number. "Call anytime, day or night." Then he turned to Maya. "Tomorrow, meet me downtown. There's something I want you to see." The next morning, Maya stood outside Stratton Capitol Tower. The building shimmered like a blade in the sun. At 8:15 sharp, Richard greeted her and led her inside, not to his office, but down a hidden stairwell to the basement. "This is our records room," he explained. "Most files are digital now, but originals, legal ones, are stored here." He pulled out binders, flipping through Project Elevate's history. Emily changed the scope 3 times. Vendors stayed the same, but the budget kept growing. None of it went through the board. Maya pointed. She timed the changes during holiday closures, buried them in subcommittee minutes. "I missed it," he said. "That's not your fault." He gave her a sad smile. "It is." I trusted her. She knew that. Then Maya paused. "Wait, this invoice, it's signed by you, but that's not your handwriting." Richard leaned closer. "It's not." She pulled out her tablet. "That routing number from Horizon, it matches this invoice. Same shell company. And I think the money's being funneled into an abandoned church she owns. On paper it's under renovation, but no permit filed." Richard stared, stunned. "She's using a fake construction site to wash money." "That's what it looks like." He stood and paced. "You realize what you've done?" She shrugged, connected the dots no one wanted to. He looked at her, serious. "This isn't just fraud. It's a criminal conspiracy." "So what now?" "Now," Richard said, "we gather everything. Because next time we walk into that boardroom, we're not asking questions. We're giving answers." That afternoon, Richard sat alone in his office, Houston glowing below in the summer haze. On his screen, the financial trail Maya uncovered blinked like a warning. From Northbridge to Horizon to Bridgecore, all tied to forged signatures, his name, his reputation, and the woman he nearly proposed to just 3 months ago, at the center of it all. The woman who had once picked the champagne for their IPO celebration, the one he thought would stand beside him at the finish line, was now at the heart of the storm. She was a CFO, his fiancée, the one person Richard Whitmore had let too close. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Jordan stepped into the office, shutting the door gently behind him. He looked uneasy, a flash drive trembling in his outstretched hand. "Sir, I think you need to hear this," he said quietly. Richard took it, eyeing him. "What is it?" Jordan looked around, voice lowering. "A recording. I wasn't supposed to be on the call. Emily didn't know I was still connected when she spoke with Michael Knox. She said, if the plan failed, they'd pin everything on you. That your name was the best shield money could buy." Richard's chest tightened. "You recorded it?" Jordan nodded. "I didn't know what to do, but after what happened yesterday, I couldn't stay silent." Richard took the flash drive, his grip steady. "You did the right thing." "There's more," Jordan added, hesitating. "Last night, someone tried to delete Maya's file from the server. It was blocked, but the attempt came from Emily's admin login." Richard didn't respond. He just turned slowly to face the window, his reflection dim against the city skyline. That evening, Richard pulled up outside Marcel's, a quiet, upscale restaurant tucked away in Midtown. It was a place Emily always preferred. Discreet, private, dangerous, now, in its familiarity. She was already seated in their usual corner booth, rosé in hand, pearl earrings glinting beneath the chandelier. "You look tired," she said lightly as he sat across from her. "I am," he replied, "tired of pretending." Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second, then returned, polished. "What's that supposed to mean?" Richard reached into his coat pocket and slid a stamped document onto the table. Maya's zoning complaint, verified by city records. "You lied," he said calmly. "To me. To everyone." Emily didn't touch the paper. She just kept her fingers wrapped around the wine glass. "I don't know what you think you've found." "I found the shell companies," he cut in, "the false invoices, the offshore accounts, the forged signature, my signature, and I have the routing numbers. I have the recording." Emily didn't blink. She simply leaned forward, voice smooth as ever. "Then I hope for your sake none of it leads back to you." Richard stared at her. "That's the game, Rick," she said quietly. "Your name is on every file, every approval, every document. They won't care what Maya found. They'll care what you signed, or what they think you signed. You forged my name." "You trusted me," she replied. "No one will question that. You were always too proud to ask for details." He sat back, eyes narrowing. "So that's the plan. Burn the house down and hope the smoke hides the bodies." Emily took the last sip of her wine and set the glass down gently. "I'm not the one lighting the match." Richard stood. He left without another word. Later that night, in a secured underground garage beneath the federal building, Richard handed Tara and Jordan the flash drive, the documents, the photos, everything. Tara flipped through the evidence, her expression hardening as she came to the pictures. Emily and her brother, laughing over drinks, reviewing files on a tablet. "She never even flinched," Richard said coldly. "She thinks she's untouchable." "Then we'll make sure she's wrong," Tara replied. As they parted ways, Richard stared down at his briefcase. It used to carry contracts and forecasts. Now, it carried proof. By midnight, Maya received a message. "Tomorrow, 9 a.m., conference room 5B. You're coming with me. They need to hear it from both of us." She replied simply, "I'm ready." At 9 o'clock sharp, the boardroom on the 23rd floor of Whitmore Holdings filled with quiet tension. Sunlight streamed across the oak table as coffee cups steamed and murmurs floated like static in the air. Richard entered first. No assistant, no press advisor, just a folder in hand and a storm in his eyes. Moments later, Maya stepped in behind him. The room stilled. Some recognized her. Others whispered, but no one interrupted. Emily was already seated across the table. Immaculate as always. Calm, cool, unbothered. "Shall we begin?" she said, smoothing a stack of binders. Richard looked around the room. "Before we discuss the IPO, there's something more urgent. Something that threatens everything we've built. He opened the folder and began distributing documents. Inside, you'll find records, shell companies, rerouted funds, forged authorizations, all tied to my name, but I never signed them. Emily laughed softly. Richard, if this is about our little disagreement. I'm not finished. He motioned to Maya. This is Maya Williams, my goddaughter, and the person who caught it all. Maya stood. The coordinates in the bridge proposal didn't match any registered site. The approval was fake, so I traced a chain. She tapped her tablet, and the wall screen lit up with a money trail flowing through shell corporations. Emily scoffed. You're taking a teenager's conspiracy over the findings of a professional audit team. She's not a teenager in this room, Richard said. She's a whistleblower, and her findings have been verified by our legal counsel. Tara stood silently in the corner and gave a single nod. One of the board members, Gregory, leaned forward. Are you accusing Emily of embezzlement? I'm accusing her of orchestrating a scheme using my name as a shield, and we have her on record admitting it. The room erupted. Emily rose, pale but composed. This is character assassination. There's no proof. Tara held up the flash drive. The audio is here. You'll hear it yourselves. Why bring this here? Another board member asked. Why not handle it privately? Richard's voice softened. Because silence is how this started, and silence is how it spreads. If we want to rebuild trust, we do it in the open. Emily's hand twitched toward her bag but stopped. Maya looked at her, calm. You tried to delete my file last night, but I'm still here. For the first time, Emily faltered. You don't know what you're doing, she whispered. You think you understand this world. No, Maya replied, but I understand right from wrong. The board fell silent again. Gregory cleared his throat. Emily, I'm afraid we'll need you to step out. She turned to Richard. For a flicker, something passed between them. Betrayal. Loss. Something once human, now gone. Then she left. When the door closed, Richard turned to Maya. Thank you for not staying quiet. She smiled faintly. You once told me justice doesn't shout. It waits for the right room to speak. He nodded, voice low but certain. Then let's clean house. And so the reckoning began, not with rage, but with resolve. Not with fists, but with facts. And at the center of it all stood a 17-year-old girl who chose courage over silence. Because sometimes the truth doesn't have to rule. It just has to be heard. There was a knock. Tara entered, holding a thick file. We found something, she said. Emily made a call right before the presentation. It was encrypted and bounced through 3 VPNs, but we traced it straight to a private intelligence firm. Expensive. Illegal. Richard took the file slowly. She wasn't working alone. No, Tara replied. And there's more. She handed another sheet to Maya. This is your high school enrollment form. Someone tried to alter your records, once to erase your disciplinary file, once to make you look unstable. Maya's face hardened. They tried to discredit me. They failed, Richard said gently. Maya's eyes burned, not with fear, but with resolve. She's protecting someone. She doesn't need money. She needs cover. Richard toned. Get Knox in here. Now. Half an hour later, Michael Knox walked in, tailored suit flawless, expression tense. You once said Emily wouldn't move $1 without proof, Richard said, tossing forged documents, shell company records, and call logs onto the table. Explain this. Knox scanned the files. His face darkened. Slowly. Saturday, I didn't know, he murmured. I suspected she was hiding something, but I thought it was personal. Then explain this. Maya held up her tablet. On March 4th, she wired money to a Kaimon account under Marigold Estates. You're listed as an authorized user. Knox flinched. It was supposed to be insurance, he admitted. Emily moved the funds without telling me where they came from. I didn't ask. That's not a mistake, Maya said. That's collusion. I thought I were protecting the company, Knox muttered. No, Richard replied. You were protecting yourself. Knox looked down. I'll resign. Effective immediately. Legal is preparing charges, Tara said. If you cooperate, it may help. As Knox exited, Richard turned to Maya. I don't know how much of this you were ready for. None, she admitted, but I'm not backing down. He smiled. You're more like your father than you know. Outside, the clouds gathered. Inside, something cleared. Emily was still out there, but now they had a name, a trail, and Maya, brave enough to follow it. The next morning broke cold and gray. In the Rains Global penthouse, Richard sat at his desk, staring at a photo of young Maya beside her father, Jamal. She'd become the kind of woman stories are written about, sharp, honest, unshakable. Maya walked in, coat damp from the mist. Morning. Morning, kiddo, he said. You sleep? A little, enough to know I'm not paranoid. Emily's still watching. Richard nodded. We're tracking her financials. Properties in Vancouver, buys, shell companies in Nevada. She didn't plan this overnight. She's not working alone, Maya added. Tara entered with an envelope, intercepted through one of Emily's LLCs. No return address, meant for Maya. Richard opened it. One line printed on fine linen paper. Tell the girl to stop, or the next signature she sees will be on a death certificate. Maya read it, then leaned back, her eyes narrowing. So now they threaten me. They're scared, Richard said. Tara tapped her tablet. She accessed a cloud file near Galveston. Properties under the name Delilah Knox, Michael's sister, could be hiding there. Richard turned to Maya. I don't want you going. I'm not sitting this out. I'm not asking you to. I need you here. If she left a digital trail, you'll find it. Tara nodded. We'll handle Galveston. But Maya, check your father's old files. If anyone knew how to stay hidden, it was Jamal. That night, Maya opened the fireproof box her father once told her to keep sealed until the world stopped making sense. It stopped yesterday, she whispered. Inside, yellow papers, a pocket recorder, a faded blue key card labeled Southgate Storage, and a flash drive. She plugged it in. A folder named Phoenix. Dozens of files, audio logs, surveillance clips, coded labels. One stood out, RG04.12, Emily Midnight Call. She clicked play. Jamal's voice, calm, clear. This is Jamal William. I've intercepted a conversation between Emily Lawson and an unknown male. They discuss Project Phoenix, a scheme to falsify environmental data to inflate valuation. Emily's voice followed. They won't check the offsets. We run it through Green Pillar. Once it's approved, we sell at peak and disappear. A man's distorted voice. What if Richard finds out? Emily, he won't. He still thinks I love him. Maya's stomach turned. She called Richard. I have something you need to hear. An hour later, in a private listening room, the audio played on loop. Richard stood still, his hands on his hips, his jaw locked. She used me, he said quietly. Tara entered. Galveston was a bust. House was empty. But we found footage. Emily was there. 2 days ago. Left with a man. Late 50s. Bald. Scar under his left eye. Richard's voice dropped. Gerald Maddox. Former consultant. Jamal once said he had dote on everyone. So Emily wasn't a mastermind, Maya said. She was a messenger. Richard nodded. And now the real web reacts. The next morning, Richard stood before a full boardroom. Executives squirmed. Maya sat at the far end, calm, resolute. Richard spoke. This company was built on trust, and that trust has been broken. He played the audio. Emily's voice echoed. They won't check the carbon offsets. We sell and disappear. Gasps. Silence. Then spreadsheets flashed on screen. Fraudulent data. Shell companies. Forged approvals. I was fooled, Richard said. But I won't let this slide. Effective immediately, we're freezing Green Pillar's assets, revoking Emily's access, and working with federal agents. An older board member leaned forward. And the rest of us? You can help fix this. I'll pack by noon. Suddenly, slow clapping echoed from the hallway. Emily stood in the doorway, flanked by two men in suits. Dramatic, but too late. "You're trespassing," Tara warned. "I still own shares. You can't silence me." "I don't need to," Richard replied. "Your voice already buried you." Federal agents stepped in behind her. "Emily Lawson," one said, "you're under arrest for securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy." As she was cuffed, she looked back. "You think this ends with me," she sneered. "You don't know who you're really up against." "Maybe not," Richard replied, "but I know what truth sounds like, and it doesn't sound like you." That evening, Richard and Maya stood on the rooftop. "You didn't just save the company," he said. "You changed it." "I just told the truth," she said softly. "Truth," he replied, "is the rarest thing we have." He handed her an envelope. "A scholarship. Full ride. Any program. Any school." Her eyes glistened. "Only if I get to intern next summer." He laughed. "You've already been running the place." The sun dipped low, the city bathed in gold. "You know," Maya said, "justice doesn't always thunder in." "No," Richard nodded. "Sometimes it whispers." "And sometimes," she said, "that whisper is enough to bring down an empire."